Okay, so right off the bat, we've got a new Cybersecurity Advisory.
Yeah.
And it's from some pretty major players, like the
Yeah.
FBI and the NSA.
Right, right.
And their UK counterpart, the NCSC.
Okay.
And, well, it's raising some serious red flags, let's just say, about the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, or SVR for short. And this isn't like just another run-of-the-mill report. They're coming out strong. They're saying this is a clear warning about how aggressive these guys are getting,
Yeah.
in the cyber world.
Yeah. You see, the thing is, the SVR, some people, they know them by other names, too.
Right.
Like APT-29, Cozy Bear.
Yeah.
Or the Dukes, But the thing is, they've always been kind of a top player in this world, right? Cyber espionage, that's their game.
Right.
But this report, it really reveals there's been a shift. There's a shift in their strategy, and that's what's really concerning.
Yeah, because, it feels like they're not just content with, like, the usual suspects. They're branching out, like the governments, the defense contractors.
Exactly. What we're seeing now, it's a much broader net.
Yeah.
They're going after tech companies,
Right.
think tanks, even small businesses now.
Small businesses, wow.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's fascinating, right? Because they're not necessarily interested in what these smaller organizations, what they have themselves. You know what I mean? It's not really about that. It's more about they're using them as stepping stones, like to get to the bigger fish.
So they're using a small business almost like as a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
To eventually gain access to, like, their larger clients or their partners.
Exactly, yeah. They're using those relationships.
Oh, wow.
That trust that's already there, you know what I mean? It's a way to exploit how interconnected everything is now. It's the digital world. Everything's connected. And they're using that to their advantage because that way they can quietly infiltrate networks that would be, if they had to go directly at them,
Right.
much harder to crack.
Yeah. That's pretty unsettling when you think about it. And what's even more concerning is that they're not, like, you think, oh, they must have these crazy sophisticated hacking techniques, but they're really not. They're really exploiting common software vulnerabilities. It's like stuff that, honestly, most organizations should have already patched.
It's always the simplest things, right?
Yeah.
Cybersecurity. It's often the simplest things that trip people up. It's like, I don't know, regularly updating your software. It seems like such a chore, right?
Yeah.
But it's one of the most effective ways to just close those loopholes, those easy loopholes that groups and these guys, the SVR, they're actively hunting for them.
Right. It's like forgetting to lock your front door because you're too busy to, I don't know, find your keys or something. Sure, it's inconvenient in the moment, but it's nothing compared to, God forbid,
Exactly. And what makes these guys, the SVR, so dangerous is they blend in. Like, they are masters of disguise in the digital world.
Right.
Like, they use tactics like routing their traffic through residential proxies.
Okay, so instead of their activity coming from, let's say, a server in Russia, it looks like it's coming from someone's home computer in, I don't know, Iowa.
Exactly.
Wow.
So their activity just looks totally normal.
Yeah.
Everyday internet traffic makes them difficult to track because they vanish. They essentially vanish into the noise of the internet, right? And they're also doing things like they're exploiting cloud misconfigurations.
Which I think for a lot of people, it's a good reminder that, cybersecurity, it's not just about your own network, right?
Yeah.
It's about the security of those cloud services that everyone relies on now,
right,
and how you're configuring them. Because you could have the best defenses in the world, but if you leave a window open in the cloud,
right,
that's all it takes.
Exactly. It's like you build this fortress, right? And you forget to, you leave one of the gates open.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is so great about this report. It's not just, they're not just like, oh my God, be scared. They're giving you a roadmap. They're saying this is what they're doing. So even if you don't have a lot of resources,
right,
you can still, try to protect yourself.
So it's like you get a peek at the opponent's playbook.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the biggest plays to watch out for, it's spear phishing emails.
Oh, yeah.
And these aren't just your average spam. We're talking, these are targeted attacks.
Right.
Designed to trick a specific person.
Yeah.
Make them give up some sensitive information or even get them to install malware.
So how can people even, what are some of the things that, because these are more sophisticated.
Right.
So it's not as easy as look for a typo.
Right.
What are some of the things people should be looking out for?
You got to be extra careful these days.
Yeah.
Even if it's an email and it looks like it's from someone you know and you trust, you really got to look closely. Is there anything unusual at all? Even just like a slight misspelling in the name,
Right.
or if they're asking you for information and it seems a little weird, or if they're saying, "Oh, you got to do this right now, like click this link right now."
Your password right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anything, even just a little tiny thing feels off, just trust your gut. Like don't just do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Better safe than sorry, especially when it comes to clicking links,
Yeah, definitely.
downloading stuff,
I
attachments.
did that.
But let's kind of zoom out a little bit, like
Right.
bigger picture. What are these guys' motives? What are they even trying to get out of this? What are they trying to achieve with all this cyber espionage?
Well, the report doesn't really get into like the specifics of their motivation, but I think, we can kind of connect the dots a little bit. We can look at like who they're going after, what they've done in the past.
Right.
And it's pretty clear that they want valuable information.
Right.
Like that's the main thing, government secrets,
Yeah.
intellectual property, economic data. I mean, you name it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Stuff that, if they get their hands on it, it gives them a leg up, whether that's politically or economically, even militarily.
Exactly. And it's not just about like stealing secrets either. It's about what can they do with that information? Can they use it to, I don't know, cause some chaos or
Right. Like influence.
influence people?
Yeah.
Public opinion, manipulate things or even just gain some leverage. Like if they're going into a negotiation, it's like having this ace up their sleeve.
So it's not just what they steal, but it's how they can use it
Exactly.
to kind of, influence things on a global scale.
100%. And that's why it's so concerning, right? It's not just, oh, this company got hacked. It's like, no, this is global stability. This is a much bigger issue.
So how can organizations even hope to keep up?
Yeah.
Because it feels like, they're evolving, their
Right.
tactics are always changing.
It's tough. I mean, it really is. It's like a constant,
Yeah.
cat and mouse.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible, right? I think the first thing is just awareness. Like we've been talking about organizations, they have to understand the threats. What are they up against? What are the tactics? And then, honestly, they need to understand their own vulnerabilities.
Right.
It's like, if you're going into a big match, you're going to study your opponent. Figure out, like, what are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are they going to do? This is no different, right?
Right. Knowledge is power. So beyond staying informed,
Right.
what are some of the things that these organizations can actually do to bolster their defenses?
Well, we talked about software updates, right? That's a big one. But strong passwords. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Encourage people to use long passwords, complicated passwords, and whenever possible, use multi-factor authentication.
Right. So that's like that extra layer of security. Like you need two things,
Exactly, yeah.
not just your password to get in.
And then there's the human element, right? Because you can have the best tech, the best defenses in the world, but if someone just
Right. Makes a mistake.
makes a mistake, clicks the wrong thing.
Or they get tricked.
Exactly, yeah. Or they just get complacent. And that's why you have to, like, security awareness training.
It's like there's that saying, right? Like you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Totally.
And a lot of times that weakest link, it's not the technology. It's us. It's the human element.
Right. I mean, we make mistakes,
Okay.
or sometimes you can be tricked or you get, someone pressures you into doing something. And that's why you always have to have that security awareness training. Like it's got to be ongoing. It's not like you do it once and you're done.
Yeah. It's got to be refreshed.
Yeah.
You got to keep people on their toes because you want your people to be like the first line of defense, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're the ones who are going to notice that phishing email or they're going to, remember to do their password, update their passwords, and they're going to report something, if something seems off.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about creating a culture of security.
Right.
It's not just, it can't just be the IT department's problem, right? It's everyone's job.
Right. And I feel like that's what this Cybersecurity Advisory is really trying to hammer home, right?
Yeah.
It's raising awareness and not just for like the bigwigs, right?
Yeah.
Not just the governments and the giant companies. It's like, hey, if you use the internet,
This is for you.
this is for you.
Oh.
This is a problem that we all share.
Yeah. I mean, they're saying it. This report, it's a wake-up call. It's like, hello, this is happening. This is real. Cyber espionage is real. It's happening right now.
Right. Yeah.
And if you think it can't affect you,
Yeah.
think again,
Yeah.
It can affect you. It can affect the company you work for. It can affect, honestly, it can affect the entire world.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So for those of us who are, maybe feeling a little vulnerable after listening to all of this, What's the takeaway? What can we do? Because it's a lot, right?
It is. I mean, the digital world, it's complicated and it can be a little intimidating sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is just awareness. Like, you have to understand this is a real thing and everyone has a role to play in, trying to keep things safe and secure.
So,
Hmm.
step one, don't stick your head in the sand.
Mm.
This is real. We got to pay attention.
100%, yeah. And then be proactive. Don't wait for something bad to happen, right? Like we talked about, strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, keep your software updated. I mean, it sounds simple, but those things, they make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's like wearing your seatbelt. You might not, most of the time, hopefully you don't get in an accident, but if you do, you're going to be really glad you had it on.
Exactly. And then, and I think this is important, never stop learning. Because, the bad guys are always trying to figure out new ways to get in.
They're always one step ahead, it feels like sometimes.
Right. So we have to stay ahead of them. So you got to stay informed, learn about the threats, the latest scams, best practices, all that stuff. There's a lot of great resources out there too. Look online, the National Cybersecurity Alliance, they have some good stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so be vigilant, be proactive, and stay informed.
That's it. That's the recipe right there. If you do those things, you're going to be in a much better position to, navigate this crazy digital world.
Right. All right. Well, that's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us, expert speaker, for sharing all of your knowledge. Really appreciate your insights on all this.
Oh, anytime. Happy to be here.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the world of the SVR and all of their cyber operations. Just remember, being informed, that's the first step to protecting yourself and your organization. And on that note, we'll see you next time. Keep exploring and stay curious.